everyone, I came on here to talk to you about my pregnancy and labour with me having neurofibromatosis, and currently Grace is in the living room with my mum and Gary, so I can do this video for everyone. I will put a huge warning now. I will be a little bit graphic with stuff, so you're being warned. I'm going to give you a bit too much information, so sorry about that. And if you start seeing things behind me, like floaty things, please let me know. I've been recording this for a while and I've been spotting floaties hovering around me. I will lead up to that for what that could be in this video. So, a week before Christmas 2019, I came sick with fish and chips, and I thought, I'm never sick with fish and chips. And I thought, I'm pregnant. So luckily we had some pregnancy tests in the house, and lo and behold, I'm pregnant. So it was really exciting, and we didn't tell my mum and grandma till Christmas Day, where we wrapped up the pregnancy test on a piece of cardboard and gave it to them. My poor grandma, bless her soul, she thought it was a whistle. She thought it was like this like new trend thing, and she was trying to catch up with all these new gadgets and trendy things. Seriously, she was good. My grandma was with these trend stuff. And my mum was like, "No, it's not a whistle. It's a pregnancy test. They're pregnant." I really should have put on the cardboard, "We're pregnant." But still, we had the funny side of grandma thinking it was a whistle. So we had to go to the doctors, I think a week after the new year. And ladies, make sure you have a full bladder, because they do like to do their own test to check if you are pregnant and you didn't have a faulty pregnancy test. Well, we had like 6 or 7 tests and they all said positive. So there you go. And they also do like another test as well with a stick of their medical background, whatever it is. I have no idea. So I was booked in for a 12-week scan, and mum and grandma got to come to that one because I wanted my grandma to see the first scan, because my grandma was there when I was born. She got to hold me first, bathe me first. Basically, grandma did everything first before my mum did. So it was real nice for my grandma to be at the scan. You're only meant to have one person in, but they let my mum, come in as well, because they knew I have a medical problem, learning problem, and other stuff. So they said, yeah, it's fine. Trying to find the fetus at the time was a little tricky. They said, you need to drink some more water and go for a walk. So I did that. Mum and grandma stayed in the waiting room whilst I did that. Then I had to keep moving and everything. So I was in the waiting room, like bouncing up and down, doing different exercises, trying to keep moving. And everyone was like, "What's going on?" And I was like, "They told me I had to keep moving and drinking." And a few of the girls, they must have been just started to be pregnant as well. And they're like, "Ooh, okay." And I could see a few drinking a bit more. So that was funny. So I went back in the room and we got some brilliant scan pictures. I think the 12-week scan pictures were the best out of any of the other scans pictures. So from the 12-week scan, I was allowed no one else with me because of that virus that we're not allowed to talk about on YouTube, but you know what I mean. So I had to go to all the appointments on my own and everything. But during the 12 weeks to 18 weeks, this is where I'm going to get very graphic, I was physically sick. How do I explain this without goring people out? I'm just going to have to tell you it. I brought everything up. You name it, I brought it up right before bed as well. So it wasn't pleasant, and I was sick for over an hour because it was just awful. My mum had to rub my back to help me, give me some water, but even trying to have water to get rid of all the stick in my mouth, I just brought all that back up. It was not good at all. And it came to a point where I couldn't breathe. And it's like I had I'm going to be very graphic again, a ball of stick in my throat. And this was every day I had this. And no matter how hard my mum would press on my back to like launch it out, do the other thing to basically try and get this ball and stick out of my mouth. No, nothing. The only way I could bring that out myself was the way that no one should do it, but that was fingers down the throat. And it wasn't, it was about that size each time. It came to the point where I didn't want to eat because I was physically scared of eating anything because I knew I was going to be sick every time. And I rang my auntie up and told her about it to see if she had anything like this, and she actually had before bed sickness, but not as bad as me. And my other auntie, she didn't really have that much sickness, so I think must have been some kind of side of the family. But my mum had no sickness at all. My mum had like nothing. She just got big and that was it. At 16 weeks pregnant, I was shopping and I said to my mum, my tummy hurts really bad, like a period pain. And we were stood in a queue for over an hour and a half. This is when everyone was starting to like, panic buy. And I was having this really bad pain. I said, as soon as we get to grandma's, I'm going to the doctors. We did that, and the doctors were like, oh, we've got to give you a ring back in 10-15 minutes. And I thought, okay, I'll sit on the wall opposite the pub and the doctors, because that's where everything is, near my grandma's. Did that and said, oh, can you come back in an hour? There was no one in the freaking doctors that could have seen me there and then. Ugh. So I said, yeah, that's fine. It's an hour, I can stay at grandma's. So went back an hour later and he had a check, he listened and said, everything seems fine, but we'll just monitor you. Well, no one bloody monitored me at all. No one checked on me and said to keep coming into doctors to see how I'm going and everything. Nothing. So when I went for my 20-week scan, I told them about the problem and they said, okay, right, we'll keep that monitoring as well. Also, the 20-week scan, the female length, which is the thigh length, someone's drilling, wasn't long enough, apparently. The baby fetus was tiny. And then realised when you get, when you get the green book, there's a section, hopefully I'll have a picture somewhere along here. Grace was on the bottom centile line, so the lines go like that, and she was always on here. She never went up, she was always meant to be in the middle, but nope, 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 not at all. So I had to go back in 2 days to see another doctor to see what was going on. They went, well, just because you're small, that means baby could be small, but we'll monitor you. Now, I was meant to have an every 2-week appointment, but I didn't. I went in at 24 weeks, and then I think after my 24 weeks, they decided then to do the 2-week scan. And my neighbour was like, why are they monitoring you? They need to monitor you nearly every week if they're saying something's wrong with the female length. And then she couldn't understand it at all. So every appointment I kept going back to, no different at all. Not at all. Until they started monitoring me after a tragedy in the family. We sadly lost Grandma, 2nd of June. On the 1st of June, she went outside to water her plants and had a fall. And I told her on the Monday, which I actually got to listen to the heartbeat and played it over the phone to my grandma. I said, right, Tuesday we'll be coming over with your shopping and we're showing you the pictures of the pram. So she was very excited about that. And she never got to see the pram or her shopping because she was in the hospital and sadly passed away in the afternoon. And I had this horrible feeling. And I said to Gary, she's gone. And Gary said, don't be daft. No, I've got that awful feeling. And you know when I get that feeling of things, you know it's true. An hour later, we got a phone call saying Grandma had passed away. I was like, freaking heck. I gotta be too stop being so psychic with things. So it didn't actually hit me a lot until we came back because we went to go and get my mum and bring my mum back here. It hit me and I couldn't breathe properly and everything. And the next day I was in for another scan and they wouldn't let my mum in with me at all. We just had a death in the family and they wouldn't let my mum come in for the scan with me because we already knew Grace was not growing very well and everything. And by the way, my grandma did know I was having a girl and she knew Grace's full name. So I had this scan, still not growing. And then I was put into a anti-unit or antenatal unit or something. I can't remember what it was called. And I was messaging Mum and Gary. They were in the car waiting for me, but I didn't know which one would pick up the message quicker. So I said, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in a room with other women, all sat here. I'm basically freaking out and everything. It wasn't until one of the ladies took me into another room and explained what was going on. She could see I was like very agitated, very wide, red-eyed, and everything. And I told her what happened, and because of the virus, you're not allowed to touch each other. But she was like, "Stuff it, I'm hugging you." And then she explained what was going on because Grace was hard to find and everything that we needed to try and like monitor her heartbeat a bit more. I was put on a machine where you have it on your tummy for the contraction and then monitor how a heartbeat sounds and how many rhythms it is. So I was put on that, and the little square, quite literally a little square, liked to move. So every now and again I'd have to press the buzzer like she's moved and the machine's going haywire. So they're like, okay, right. So I was at the what 2 hours. Poor Gary and the wind, the scorching heat in the car as well. They couldn't do anything. They had to wait for me. I mean, I should have just told them just to go to the supermarket, but we didn't know how long I was going to be in there. On the Thursday and Friday, I had not much movement from Grace. So on the Saturday, I rang up the hospital line and said what happened, and they said, "Get in right now." That was the word from the lady on the phone. Get in right now. So rang Gary up, get me in hospital now. I have to go in now. So poor Gary, I don't think he even had breakfast in him. Rushed me to the hospital, and I went in, and then they were waiting for me. They were literally like waiting for me on the ward where I had to be. And said, right, on the machine to try and find. Right, she's there. Right, we know she's there. Right, good. Right, now heart monitor. Right, okay, yeah, her rhythm of the heart's fine. Everything's fine. So I had to drink like this water stuff, just to get her to wriggle a bit. And she finally wriggled. And I had to wait until she did so many movements within the hour, to make sure she was actually fine. I had to have this done every 2 weeks with the scans from then on, because they wanted to make sure Grace was okay. It wasn't until the very last scan I had where Grace dropped more on the centile line. She was way below the line. This was alarming bells. They said, we have to get you induced. I was like, no, 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 I need an August baby. She has to be an August baby. I've been planning this for God knows how long. She has to be an August baby. And I said, sorry, but she's dropped so much, and we can't always find her. So I'm like, okay, fine. So on the 20th of July, I was took into hospital by mum and Gary, and I was induced. I had to have like stuff put up me and whatever else happened. I can't really remember everything. And I was heart monitored again every so often, and then they said, oh, during the night we monitor you. And I thought, oh, they monitor me just to see how I'm sleeping and everything. I didn't realise they meant monitor you as in you sometimes they say we may wake you up, but if you're already awake, that's fine. But they wanted to monitor and see how Grace's heartbeat was during the night. So 3 o'clock in the freaking morning, me and another lass across from me were both up. We both woke ourselves up, and we were both monitored at the same time. So we just both sat there chatting away, getting to know each other. It was so good to have someone else there to talk to, and both be monitored at the same time. And then on the Tuesday, they gave me another round of this inducement stuff in the morning and then in the afternoon. And again, all the stuff happening and everything. And it wasn't until the evening time after my hospital food, for tea, hospital food, what am I talking about? Tea at the time, I started feeling a bit off my food. I thought, oh, it's just me panicking about something, that's all. And then I felt constipated. I thought, oh, I've ate too much. And so I asked the staff if they had something for me to eat to help my constipation. Like, yeah, sure. But they were like, hang on a minute, has she actually got constipation, or is she having something else? Um, from there, I kept going to the toilet, backwards and forwards within like 10 minutes. They're like, you're peeing every minute, Yana. And it wasn't until the last time I peed, I saw some pink stuff in the toilet. Now, no one tells you this, that pink stuff comes out of you. So I was like, what's this? Press the buzzer. Press the wrong buzzer, actually. Shouldn't have them both near each other. Scared everyone. And said, oh yeah, that's normal. Like, oh, why didn't anyone tell you that? Just made a fool out of myself. And fireworks were going off. And I was getting more stomach pains. So I said to him, is there any chance there's a bath I can just have just to relax myself? And I said, yeah, that's fine, you can go and have a bath. Well, the thing is, they didn't tell me where that bath was. I had to go and find a frigging nurse to ask where is the bath. And then I thought, when they said it's this way, we'll sort it out for you. I thought they were going to make me a bath, like do it up for me. Do it for me. Put the water in and everything, and then monitor me. Someone will stay outside, or we had this like curtain that will go across the room. Because I was like starting to freak myself out. I was gonna be giving labour in this bath. So I rang my mum up at midnight. Like, Mum, something's going on. So Mum timed it, and every 5 minutes I had a pain. And I said to the nurse about it and said, right, we'll keep an eye on you. So around 3 o'clock again in the morning, I was monitored. And then 4 o'clock, they're like, right, you went upstairs to the labour ward. And I'm like, oh, so I've been in labour then. I'm like, no, you're going into labour. So I rang Gary up. He came about 4:30 to the hospital by taxi. And I went to the toilet again. But they wouldn't let me at first. So I was like, please, there's gonna be a swimming pool if you don't let me go. And she was like, I got you. Right, okay. And then that midwife went, and then I got a new one. I really hated when they have to keep changing. So this one, I said, look, I need to wee again. I said, right. And they brought a commode in. So I sat on the commode, wired up, by the way. I ended up being wired up during all this time with tubes in my arm, and that they couldn't find a vein, and I had all of the stuff happening to me. And then when I came off the toilet, Gary's like, there's something pink in the toilet. I said, oh yeah, that's happened before. And I turned around, oh no, that's something new. It was the mucus plug. So when the midwife came in, I said, mucus plug. I said, right. And she went, okay, we're going to need to get the other nurses and everything set up. I went in to fast labour, and Grace came within 45 minutes. It would have been quicker if I could figure out how to use the gas and air, breathe and push. Now she kept saying now push but don't breathe. I'm like, I'm asthmatic. I need to breathe. Well, I kept breathing the wrong way around. Meant to use your nose and not your mouth. And then hand. But because no one had antenatal classes, we weren't taught how to like do your breathing through labour. So that was awkward. And I could hear Gary getting real upset for me. And I literally had my eyes closed. I didn't want to see anyone. I was like, just leave me alone. just, just let me do it my way, please. But yeah, Grace came out fine. Put her on my tummy. Good set of lungs. And then Gary cut the umbilical cord. He was and I was like, oh, come on, just cut it. Because my uncle did it. I want to prove to my uncle that you can do it. And he did it. And Grace was then put onto the heat mats and everything, all sorted out. And whilst they were sorting out Grace, Gary was like, I don't know what Gary was doing. Gary was just over in the corner with the other nurses and doctors whilst I was getting stitched up because I got a few tears. And I just saw my placenta, and my placenta wasn't big at all. Now I expected when I see placentas on telly, like these big things, mine was like that. It was tiny and everything. And after I was all sorted out and everything, Gary was feeding her. They're actually having to teach Gary how to feed her because Gary's actually left-handed, so he was finding it awkward. So they were trying to find the best position for Gary to hold Grace to feed her. And I said, I want a shower. And they looked at me like, you just gave birth. Just rest. No, 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 no. I have to get this blood off me. I need blood off me, my skin. If not, I'm going to start itching and everything. I have to have clean skin. So they're like, all right then. But they had to wait for the cubicle just to be ready because I had a shower in the room. That came through within 10 minutes and I managed to go in. I basically walked in like normal, had a shower, walked out like normal after being dressed. And Gary's in the room on his own. I went, where is everyone? They went, they've all gone out so we can spend time together. I was like, oh, okay. No wob. So yeah, it wasn't until like another 10 minutes later they managed to get a porter to put me in a wheelchair and whisk me off to a special ward because Grace was born at 35 weeks, so she was 5 weeks premature and everything. So I wheeled down to another room, another ward, sorry, and then Gary had to leave me, and I was like, and I met a lovely nurse. I cannot remember her name, I'm afraid. She helped me out with stuff and kept monitoring Grace throughout that time. But I wouldn't put her down. I didn't want to put her down. She was so tiny. She only weighed £4 4. £4 4. She was freaking tiny. She was only like 14 to 15 inches long. So I wouldn't put her down. I just wanted to hold her all the time. And she's like got all these like blankets on her. She's like, so you just couldn't even see. You could see like these eyes poking out like this. What's going on? What's going on? She was just so alert. So yeah, I think that's basically it. Because I'm going to stop recording because my neighbour's starting to drill, and I don't want that to ruin the video. So yeah, so I'll give you a talk about Grace, how she was during the hospital because we had to stay in hospital 10 days with her. So I'll give you that talk next when it's more quieter. So ciao for now. Bye.